ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for taking time to check out this week's episode of Mac and the Movies. We are finishing our Bela Lugosi Duke Mitchell series. We started with Bela Lugosi meets a Brooklyn gorilla and follow that film with the pair of Duke Mitchell's directorial efforts, Massacre Mafia Style and Gone with the Pope. Today we close with one last Bela Lugosi film, and may God help us all with this awful entry. Let's take a look at Spooks Run Wild, starring Bela Lugosi, the East Side Kids, Angelo Rossito, and David O'Brien. The film centers on the East Side Kids. They are gathered and boarded on a bus headed towards a summer camp. While at a bus stop, they hear a radio news report about a murderer being on the loose. Shortly after, we are introduced to the mysterious Nardo and his assistant Luigi. No, not that Luigi. Immediately, we get an ominous vibe from them. At the same time, we also meet Dr. Van Grosch, who comes off as a Van Helsing type. No, not that Van Helsing. There, that's better. The East Side Kids make it to the camp. That night, they plan on making a break for the city. Fortunately, they end up getting lost in the forest. They stumble into a graveyard and startle the gravedigger. At this point in the film, I absolutely hated these characters. I wished they would be shot. And guess what happens as soon as that thought passed through my head?
Stop! After you catch me, I'll stop.
Yay! That's not the only funny part. The gravedigger meets with the police and tells them he shot one of the kids. Here's what the sheriff has to say.
Sounds like Joe here might have taken a shot at him tonight. Hit one, too, maybe.
What do you mean, took a shot at them?
Well, that can't take her over the burying ground. Can't have anybody prowling around dead night, you
Yes,
know.
but why shoot at a bunch of harmless kids?
Oh, they only used buckshot, Jeff. Couldn't have hurt anyone bad.
Well, where'd they go?
Buckshot doesn't hurt? Yeah, and the bride from Kill Bill was only mildly uncomfortable after getting double barrels of rock salt in her chest. That still stings like a sumbitch. The kids? Wait a minute, why am I calling them kids? These must be 30-year-old men pretending to be 18-year-olds. They're not kids. These grown men make their way through the dark, spoopy forest and come across the mansion for Dr. Nardo. Nardo greets them along with Luigi. The grown-ups need a place for their wounded friend to rest for the night. Because, nothing cures a shotgun wound like a good night's sleep. Keep that home remedy in mind for future reference. Now, for those sensitive for spoilers, take notice. I'm about to spoil this 75-year-old movie. You've been warned.
And here we go.
The film has the viewer believing that Nardo is the killer that the radio reported earlier in the film. But it turns out Nardo is a misunderstood doctor. He heals the wounded Pee-wee of the East Side Kids. The killer all along was Dr. Van Grosch. Despite the film only giving Van Grosch limited screen time and the effect of the twist not really being potent, it was still a little clever. I'll give it that much credit. It was a twist more deserving of a better film. It would have worked had Dr. Van Grosch maintained a presence throughout the film, misdirecting the authorities to Nardo. Instead, the film has Van Grosch appearing at the beginning, and then he's not on screen again until the climax at the end. There's a fair amount of positive criticism I have for this film. The cast is filled with good talent. Obviously, Bela Lugosi gets the top of the marquee. For 1941, Lugosi was still healthy looking. This was before his personal demons consumed him. He's also having fun working with the unfunny foils of the East Side Kids. Angelo Rossito plays Luigi. This guy was everywhere. He was in Todd Browning's classic Freaks. He was in the Al Adamson Grindhouse classic monster hybrid, Dracula vs. Frankenstein. He's likely most recognized for being the Master in Master Blaster from Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. Another familiar face is David O'Brien. The man made a nice career for himself as a writer for comic Red Skeleton. As an actor, he has a ton of credits, most of them being westerns, but he will likely be remembered as the crazed pot smoker Ralph from the one and only Reefer Madness. Another element to the film that I had to give credit is its use of the term zombie in the proper context. Scruno, played by Ernest Morrison, uses zombie in the traditional voodoo manner.
Hey, where's Pee-wee?
I don't know.
What do you mean, I don't know? What do you do, just get up and walk out?
That's exactly what I don't mean. Nothing else but. He got up out of that bed, walked out of this room, didn't even look at me or say a word. That's funny. Say, look here, y'all know one thing? I believe Pee-wee done been turned into a zombie.
A zombie? What do you mean?
You should have seen that glassy stare in his eyes and the way he didn't listen when I was talking to him. Now, you know what I mean?
It may seem like a small detail, but I'm trying to grasp straws here about stuff positive to say about this film. The film tries to be a horror comedy. It has horror elements, but it is not a comedy because I never laughed at this film, or laughed when the film wanted me to. I got a huge laugh when Pee-wee got shot. In fact, let's see it again.
Stop! After you catch me, I'll stop.
And again. And again. It gets funnier every time I see it, I swear. The East Side Kids, as I mentioned earlier, are just miserable. I can't stand these actors. When seeing one of them getting shot amuses me, that is a bad sign. These idiots make Sammy Petrillo look like Jerry Lewis. Okay, bad example. They make Sammy Petrillo look like Andrew Dice Clay. Oh! And I stand by that comparison. Okay, let's just wrap this up. Spooks Run Wild is a comedy that isn't funny, and the horror aspects aren't enough to carry this film. There are some familiar faces, and it has a twist ending too clever for the film's own good. If you want to punish yourself, you can easily find this film on YouTube. With that, we are finished with our Bela Lugosi Duke Mitchell series. In retrospect, the films worth seeking out are definitely Massacre Mafia Style and Gone with the Pope. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and click the thumbs up, subscribe to stay on top of future content. Stay tuned for After the Credits for a preview of the first review of 2017. I'm Mackenzie Lambert with Mac in the Movies. Take care and have a Happy New Year.